Let's make the most of the next 25 minutes where we'll give you updates from the world of business. And here's what we have prepared for you. It's World Food Day today. The world is celebrating. Nigeria obviously joins in. And what's going on with food security in Nigeria? Cobalt prices surge. What's driving it? What are the expectations? There's cash crunch in Libya and the government is planning to print $11 billion. You're welcome to the program. I'm Ini John McCoy. We start as usual from the global oil space where prices rose by around 1% in early trade after U.S. President Donald Trump said that Indian Prime Minister had pledged his country would stop buying oil from Russia, which supplies about 1/3 of its imports. So look at the numbers for this afternoon. 0.5% in the green for Brent, and the price is at $62.22. WTI is also up 0.55%, $58.59 a barrel. Both contracts touched their lowest since early May in the previous session on U.S. and China trade tensions. And Trump had said that India would halt oil purchases from Russia. India and China are two of the top buyers of Russian seaborne crude exports, which were sanctioned by the US and European Union. Let's leave oil now, see what's happening in the metal space. Gold extended its rally to a fresh record high on Thursday as investors are turning to the safe haven asset due to US-China trade tensions and the United States shutdown. That's still on, with prospects of interest rate cuts further boosting demand. Look at the numbers at this time. 0.6% in the green for spot gold. 4,223. Remember the new high, 4,200. So it's gone past that. That's for spot gold. US gold is also up more than that 4,200. $4,247.10. Spot silver, 1.68% in the green. Tension moving investors this way. $52.23. Platinum is also up 0.84%, and the price is $1,702.10. Palladium 1.36% in the green, $1,611.50. And investors' focus this week has been on the trade fight between the two biggest economies, the US and China. And gold's rally has been driven by a cocktail of factors. Other than that, there's the ongoing political economic uncertainty. There's a shutdown in the United States government, and of course, accumulation of gold by some central banks. October 16 is known as the World Food Day, and to mark this year, the United Nations volunteers, they pay tribute to the Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, through Legacy in Action. They're celebrating 80 years of volunteer impact with FAO. According to Director General of Food and Agriculture Organization, Q Dan Kui, this anniversary is an opportunity to reflect on a long-standing partnership built on shared values and global impact. In 2025 alone, it says that there are about 82 United Nations volunteers currently serving with FAO in 31 countries. And we're still celebrating today, World Food Day, being commemorated. The Department of Agriculture in South Africa said they would donate food parcels and agricultural input to various projects and households in Eastern Cape. The food parcels and agricultural input will be donated to the community of Kwazehele in Gobeha. And Thursday's food parcel drive is being held in collaboration with the Eastern Cape Department of Agriculture and the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United States, commemorated under the theme Hand in Hand for Better Food and a Better Future. The WFD emphasizes the importance of global collaboration and partnerships across government, organizations, and communities to create peaceful, sustainable, and food-secure societies. And coming to Nigeria, joining in the World Food Celebration, a time to introspect. Why does Nigeria still have the threat of food insecurity hanging over it in spite of the potentials that it has in food production? That is a conversation that I had earlier today on Business Morning with Mr. Ade Adifeko.
A strategic grain reserve usually takes care of 1 month, 2 months. But why can't you have a strategic grain reserve that can take care of 6, 9 months and up to a year? So that's what I think we should work on. The bulk of production made right now from the hinterland is there, but it's rotting away. So what we need to do is to preserve them. We're the largest producer of cassava. We're the largest producer of yam. We're the largest producer of cocoyam. So if you're the largest producers of these things and you cannot adequately store them for the rainy day, then you have a problem. So nobody's going to help you with that. So World Bank, FAO saying all the things they're saying with respect to data that they have and they're churning out, yes, it's okay. But we have to do what we have to do, which is to make sure that we preserve what we... You know, we at Olam, we're operating from farm to fork, from seed to shelf. I mean, we're the largest producer of rice in the country. We have a high stock of rice in the country as we speak. But there's a problem right now we have. It's smuggling. Smuggling undermines us. And it's undermining us for the last 5, 6, 7 months. It's not my duty to police the borders. I will do the best I can by producing rice and making sure that I'm competitive in my pricing. But if the rice that comes in through smuggling undermines me and makes my rice uncompetitive, what can I do?
Still on the celebration of World Food Day, the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has announced a 10% discount on Eco Rice and Eco Classic as part of activities to mark the day in Lagos. The Lagos State government, in a post on its official handle X, said that the discount offer tagged Mr. Governor's Eco Rice special discount for World Food Day will hold today, Thursday, at the Police College in Ikeja. So if it's not too late, perhaps you can catch a bit of it. Let's leave World Food Day for a bit now and head to other commodities. And we're discussing cobalt, which is a key material used in the manufacturing of batteries for electric vehicles, mobile phones, and electronic devices. In the last 8 months, the price of cobalt has increased by more than 100% and now hit about 42,725 for a ton. We know that demand has increased with the demand for electric vehicles, but what else is driving this, and really how much demand has come from Africa? Well, let's have this conversation now with analyst with financial derivatives company Ajibola Ayodeji. Ajibola, welcome to the program. What are the drivers of this sharp increase in the price of cobalt?
Okay, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. So that's true. We have seen the price of cobalt increase by about over 100% in the last 8 months. And one of the major things that contributed to the increase in the price is the ban that was placed on cobalt in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Congo contributes about 70% of production and even supply to the global market. So they are the largest producer and largest exporter. So whatsoever policy that is put in place in that country will affect the price of cobalt globally. And that's why we are seeing the increase in the price of cobalt over the past 8 months, because it's led to supply constraints, which is not able to meet the demand that is needed in the market, which contributes to the increase in the price of cobalt. However, yesterday it was released from the country that the ban has been lifted from on the export of cobalt. So we might be seeing a decline in price. However, even though the ban has been lifted, there's a quota that is put on it, and quota has to do with restriction on the volume that can be exported in order to regulate the price or to support price and to control the supply. So because of this quota, even though we might be seeing a decline, the decline might not really be much. Because of the quota that is placed on the volume of exports that we're seeing.
While we know that, of course, that ban or partial ban, as you've described now, has been lifted in the Democratic Republic of Congo, how does that balance out with increased demand? We know that a lot of countries have targets, for EVs, electric vehicles, and other cleaner or renewable energy components that require cobalt. How is that balancing out with the price and the supply from DR Congo?
Okay, let me say that in the short term, we might not really see a decline in the price of cobalt, because as it is now that the ban has been lifted, many manufacturers of these EVs and other electronic devices that is using cobalt might want to buy more in order to increase their production and to meet their target market. So there might be this might even lead to a depress more upon the on price. However, in the medium term, we might see like a slight decline in the price of cobalt, because they would have it might have stabilized at that time. So they know the direction of the market. They can predict the supply, the volume that will be supplied into the market. So at that time they can predict it, so that they will know how to manage themselves in order to produce and to maintain their production and to meet their targeted market.
Okay, so we're talking about DR Congo because they supply about 70%, but Nigeria also holds a vast reserve of this. Are we active in that scene?
Okay, when it comes to Nigeria, yes, Nigeria is a blessed country. We have so many rare earth materials or resources. We have cobalt. Nigeria also has cobalt, because as presently now, according to a report by African Energy Institute, they said that we still have like about 700,000 metric tons of cobalt that is unexplored. So we have this. However, Nigeria has not explored as much as is needed, or we have not really looked into that sector, because even the GDP that was released, the Q2 GDP, we saw that the metal or iron ore contracted in that report. So what can Nigeria do? And one of the problems that is facing Nigeria when it comes to the mining sector is inadequate geological data. So we don't have data about that sector. So people don't, or investors, they are afraid of going into that sector. So there's need to engage in geological survey and open data portal, so that investors can know what is happening in that sector. They will know, they will have like a knowledge of it, so that they will know if they are going to invest their money into that sector and all. That's one. And another thing is that there is need to engage or to invest in power and infrastructure packages for this sector, because we know that every country that wants to develop, there's need for power for development. So there's need to invest in power in order to, even if there's going to be processing and all, power is needed. And the last one I would like us to do is to learn from Indonesia. What Indonesia did was to incentivize their local processing and refining. They incentivize it by giving something like maybe like a tax break for them, and also invest in power, like I've said, and they also engage in public-private partnership, because the amount or the fund that is needed in that sector might be much. So there is need for partnership between the private and public institution in order to engage or to explore that sector. However, I would like to say lastly, because even though we are going to engage in all this, there is need to look at the risk that is associated with it. For example, there is risk of environmental and social harm that could come with the exploration of this material. So there is need for us to comply with ESG standard in order to make sure that even though we are exploring, we are not harming the people, and the environment is not suffering from this exploration.
All right, Ajibola Ayodeji, thank you so much for giving us those insights.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's get to other African countries and see what's happening. We start from Libya, where Libyans are flooding the banks across the country. There's a worsening case of a cash shortage is gripping the economy, leaving many unable to access their savings or withdraw salaries. And long queues have formed outside branches in Tripoli, reflecting growing public anxiety excuse me, over liquidity constraints. In response, the Central Bank of Libya has announced plans to print 60 billion dinars, that's about $11 billion, in new banknotes to inject into the financial system and restore liquidity. The move comes as the oil-rich nation struggles with political division, falling foreign reserves and delays in salary payment to public workers. The government has pledged to coordinate with commercial banks and security agencies to ensure fair distribution of the new currency and restore public trust and confidence in the banking system. And then we go to Zimbabwe. The country is projecting to record a cereal surplus of about 456,937 tons by May next year, despite a decline in total output compared to earlier estimates. This is according to the 2024-2025 Post-Harvest Survey report. The report, jointly produced by the Zimbabwe National Statistics Agency and the Lands, Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Rural Development Ministry, however, indicates that the country will require around 386,000 tons of cereals for human consumption and an additional 400,000 tons for livestock feed between September 2025 and May 2026. The report notes that the total cereal production reached 2.24 million metric tons during the 2024-2025 agricultural season, compared to 2.93 million tons that was projected under the April 2025 report and the second round of the crops, livestock and fisheries assessment in Zimbabwe. Kenya and Australia have reaffirmed their commitment to deepen cooperation across trade, education, and renewable energy as part of efforts to strengthen bilateral relations. The agreement was reached during a high-level talk between officials from both countries in Nairobi. Kenya's Foreign Affairs Ministry said that discussions focus on expanding investment opportunities, enhancing agricultural partnerships, and promoting skills exchange between the two nations. Australia also has pledged to support Kenya's climate resilience initiatives and renewable energy projects. The two countries are exploring ways to boost student exchange programs and technical training, building on existing educational links that have seen hundreds of Kenyan students study in Australian universities. And still in Kenya, the tourism industry has praised the government for attracting more international airlines into the country, saying that the new routes will boost accessibility and promote Kenya as a top global destination. This comes as Fly Dubai, a Dubai-based carrier, launched its inaugural flight into Nairobi's Jomo Kenyatta International Airport on Wednesday, carrying 80 passengers. The airline becomes the fifth carrier to make its maiden entry into Kenya this year and will operate 4 weekly flights to Nairobi, in addition to its existing daily service to Mombasa. Let's head to the markets now and see what color we have for Nigeria. Building on early gains today, we have at intraday the all share up 0.06%, still hanging on to the 147,000 level, 147,837.30. For Johannesburg, it's also positive, and they are 112,000. 405.90, 0.69% in the green is the market. Egypt follows suit, 0.28% in the green, and Nairobi closed positive also on Wednesday, 1.12% for Nairobi. We move to the Middle East, see mixed colors, starting with Dubai, which is in the red at intraday. Abu Dhabi is, however, green, 0.16%. Saudi Arabia is green also, 0.20%, and Qatar is very green at more than 1%, almost 1.5%. In the United States, stock futures were higher on Wednesday night after strong bank earnings shifted investor focus from risks both at home and abroad, as the shutdown, still continues there. But for the features, we see red for Dow Jones, 0.04%. S&P is green, however, 0.4%, while Nasdaq is 0.66%. In the green, we see that JB Hunt Transport Services shares jumped about 13%. After that country beat Wall Street earnings and revenue expectations, the shares rose and gave it a strong forecast. And then stocks also saw choppy trading, but both S&P we see ended in the green. Let's go to Asia now and see what color we have. South Korea, we see is looking green. Remember yesterday we saw a huge recovery, as it did seem like the Asian markets were shifting a little bit away from the sentiment that is created by the tension between the US and China. So we see most of it sustained today. So the Nikkei is still green, 1.27. The Kospi is very green, almost 2.5%. Hang Seng, however, did not get caught off in that. And then when you look at other markets on the continent in Asia, we would see that for India, I believe India is green at this time, almost 1%, as well as Shanghai. Good news for the continent is that the IMF, as with many other countries, raised its growth projection for this continent, saying the impact of the US tariff was at the modest end of the range and not as bad as they had expected. Well, let's see if that good news also spreads to Europe. We have Lars joining us now to tell us what's happening with investor sentiment at this time. Lars, what are investors doing?
Yeah, it's interesting today. We're taking a little bit of a break here in Europe, a little bit of a break from all that US-China stuff that we're dealing with on an almost daily basis. Reason for that, we got some news out of France. So the government today had two votes of confidence that they had to go through. So we obviously saw markets not only in France, but also in Germany, some of the other European markets as well, under pressure. But now those votes of no confidence are over, with the government in France essentially surviving. So they can start getting their things in order there. Now, of course, whenever a major European player is in political trouble, that has a negative effect on markets, and that's why we saw weakness all morning. It's gotten better now, especially, of course, for the CAC 40 in Paris, that has rallied over the last hour or so, up 1% now. Of course, that is not affecting everybody at the same time. We're pretty much flat in Frankfurt.
All right. So away from the markets, a pan-European airplane maker, Airbus, is in the news. What's that about?
Yeah, I should probably tell you first what the situation at Airbus was over in the past, in the recent past, specifically, of course, here, Airbus Defence and Space. It wasn't pretty until recently. That company had trouble securing and committing to their goal of building 10 fighter jets per year. And they knew if they were to drop under 10 jets a year, that would seriously endanger the company. Now the German government is ordering 20 new fighter jets. The whole deal is worth almost 4 billion euros. That's all, of course, due to the fact that we're living in geopolitically troubled times, with Russia's war in Ukraine, of course, with the United States pulling out of global military cooperation, and Europe strengthening their own militaries. Ironically, the German government has already bought a number of jets over the few years, right after Russia invaded Ukraine, but they didn't buy those from Airbus, but at the time, rather, they went to Lockheed Martin in the US to get some F-35s. Of course, there's reasons for that. The F-35s are equipped to carry U.S. nuclear weapons in case that would ever be needed to be deployed. And also, while the Eurofighter, made by Airbus, is seen as stronger in air combat, the F-35, of course, has other advantages, like flying into enemy airspace undetected. That was something that military leaders had been looking for. But now the trend has changed a little bit, and the government is putting that a major order with Airbus.
Yeah, well, I guess it's celebration for them, but I just wonder if it's sustainable.
Yeah, it seems Airbus should be good for a while indeed, Ini, not just because the German government is ordering these new Eurofighters, but also because Berlin is easing up on letting Airbus sell these jets to some other nations. Saudi Arabia is said to be interested in ordering 48 Eurofighters, and that's a deal that Berlin had long not been okay with. And Turkey, too, is interested in buying up to 40 machines. Now, this heightened interest in these jets is, of course, not only due to the global and geopolitical situation, but also due to the fact that Airbus has improved their products. The latest Eurofighter models, now they're equipped with much better radar than in the past, and with technology that enables electronically assisted warfare. They will have stronger signal jammers to attack enemy communication. So there's a lot more in it. Now, in the long run, however, Airbus also, of course, needs to solve some of the other problems, ongoing problems the company has with France's Dassault Group. Those two companies are jointly working on a new fighting system called the Future Combat Air System, or FCAS. And there are still questions over who's in charge of what. And now, maybe with Airbus having new orders in and a little less to worry about its future, maybe that might just be a little bit of help with these ongoing discussions as well.
Yeah, well, we hope so, and we'll see how they handle all of that. Last, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ini.
Okay, so let's see what color we have for Bitcoin. It seems to be retaining the 111,000 level. It's only dropped 0.3%. So we haven't seen a lot of movement in 24 hours. Ethereum is also still holding on to the 4,000 level and all of that. I'm talking about Ethereum. A big news for them at this time. The active developers of Ethereum, we see, has gone up to 31,869. Between January and September, the network added 16,181 new developers. That's talking about the news making the headlines at this time. Solana followed with 11,534 new contributors, reflecting the network's appeal among developers. And then another news that's making the headlines is CoinShare. CoinShare might be launching on NASDAQ very soon. So, I mean, more confidence and more investors could be going that way also. Also, Cardano inflows jump to a 3-month high. So amidst all of the red colors that we see with Bitcoin and all, we still have some positive movements right there, both Ethereum and Cardano at this time. But that's it. That's all we can take on Business Incorporated. Thank you so much for being a part of it today. Don't forget, tomorrow is Friday. That means we have a full day also. But I'll see you tonight for the Stock Market Report. I'm Ini John. Bye-bye.